Well, good morning. Welcome to lesson 138. Heaven is the decision I must make. It's a conscious decision. All of these lessons are presenting the mind with this doorway, this conscious doorway where you have to choose, because it was by the power of choice, by the power of free will, that I chose to enter into this experience of the journey of my soul that has brought me here to the third dimensional plane or reality, if you like, whatever that is, the dreaming, the illusion, the Maya. And so it is by the power of my own decision, my own free will, that I must use that ability for choice to return home, which is nothing more than a change of mind about what I think I am, about myself. Okay, so in this world, heaven is a choice, because here we believe there are alternatives to choose between. We think that all things have an opposite, and what we want, we choose. If heaven exists, there must be hell as well, for contradiction is the way we make what we perceive and what we think is real. Creation knows no opposite, but here is opposite part of being real. It is this strange perception of the truth, which makes the choice of heaven seem to be the same as the relinquishment of hell. It is not really thus, yet what is true in God's creation cannot enter here until it is reflected in some form the world can understand. Truth cannot come where it could only be perceived with fear, for this would be the error. Truth can be brought to illusions. Opposition makes the truth unwelcome, and it cannot come. Choice is the obvious escape from what appears as opposites. Decision lets one of conflicting goals become the aim of effort and expenditure of time. Without decision, time is but a waste and effort dissipated. It is spent for nothing in return, and time goes by without results. There is no sense of gain, for nothing is accomplished and nothing is learned. Right? Decision is important. It's really the last remaining power that we have here as children of God, as Christ-minded beings, the power of decision. You need to be reminded that you think 1,000 choices are confronting you when there is really only one to make, and even this but seems to be a choice. Do not confuse yourself with all the doubts that myriad decisions would induce. You make but one, and when that one is made, you will perceive it was no choice at all, for truth is true and nothing else is real. There is no opposite to choose. Instead, there is no contradiction to the truth. Okay, so every decision that I'm confronted with in the world is a decision for God, for heaven. It's a reflection of the one decision that I have to make, showing up in this situation, that situation, or I should say this relationship, that relationship, and all these sorts of things. And because of the Maya, because of the illusion where it seems that everything's different and this requires a different response to that, it's like, that's not true. All right, my goal is God, and my decisions are going to reflect that in every choice I make about each of these things that are presented me to choose between. Okay, there is only love. Love is everything. Love is unconditional. God is unconditional, all-encompassing, forever, as above, so below on earth. But on earth, we don't seem to be able to perceive that love, that unconditional nature of the extension of God's love here. But we find it through learning to make decisions and being willing to learn, because in this world, love shows up as learning, or love shows up as the result of learning, let's say. We've denied it to ourselves, and now we're finally surrendering, and we're saying, oh, well, hang on a minute. I can either choose between A or B, yin or yang, or I can choose for heaven instead in this situation. And that'll bring up a lot of stuff. You know, it's like the anxiety of believing that I have to make a choice between this kind of drink or that kind of drink, or this person or that person, or whatever, and then choosing for God instead and allowing the outcome to just be what it was always ever going to be anyway. It's like I'm removing myself from the situation and becoming simply the observer. Okay, but I have to choose to do that. Okay. Choosing depends on learning, but the truth cannot be learned but only recognized. In recognition, its acceptance lies, and as it is accepted, it is known. But knowledge is beyond the goals we seek to teach within the framework of this course. Ours are teaching goals to be attained through learning how to reach them, what they are and what they offer you. Decisions are the outcome of your learning, for they rest on what you have accepted as the truth of what you are and what your needs must be. In this insanely complicated world, right? Listen, it's not like Jesus doesn't know what kind of world this is. He may have had a short journey through it in the physical when he was making his demonstration that there is no death, but he understands. So, ready? In this insanely complicated world, heaven appears to take the form of choice rather than merely being what it is. Of all the choices you have tried to make, this is the simplest, most definitive, the prototype of all the rest, the one which settles all decisions. If you could decide the rest, this one remains unsolved. But when you solve this one, the others are resolved with it. For all decisions but conceal this one by taking different forms. Here is the final and the only choice in which is truth accepted and or denied. So we begin today considering the choice that time was made to help us make. So we begin today considering the choice that time was made to help us make. Such is its holy purpose, now transformed from the intent you gave it, that it be a means for demonstrating hell is real. Hope changes to despair, and life itself must in the end be overcome by death. In death alone are opposites resolved, for ending opposition is to die, and thus salvation must be seen as death, for life is seen as conflict. To resolve the conflict is to end your life as well. These mad beliefs can gain unconscious hold of great intensity. These mad beliefs can gain unconscious hold of great intensity and grip the mind with terror and anxiety so strong it will not relinquish its ideas about its own protection. It must be saved from salvation, threatened to be safe, and magically armored against truth. And these decisions are made unaware to keep them safely undisturbed, apart from question and from reason and from doubt. Ready? Listen to this. This is cool. Heaven is chosen consciously. The choice cannot be made until alternatives are accurately seen and understood. The choice cannot be made until alternatives are accurately seen and understood. All that is veiled in shadows must be raised to understanding, to be judged again, this time with heaven's help, and all mistakes in judgment which the mind had made before are open to correction, as the truth dismisses them as causeless. Now are they without effects. They cannot be concealed because their nothingness is recognized. The conscious choice of heaven is as sure as is the ending of the fear of hell, when it is raised from its protective shield of unawareness and is brought to light. Who can decide between the clearly seen and the unrecognized? Who can fail to make a choice between alternatives when only one is seen as valuable, the other as wholly worthless thing, but imagined source of guilt and pain? Who hesitates to make a choice like this? And shall we hesitate to choose today? We make the choice for heaven as we wake and spend 5 minutes making sure that we have made the one decision that is sane. We recognize we make a conscious choice between what has existence and what has nothing but an appearance of the truth. Its pseudo-being brought to what is real. It's flimsy and transparent in the light. Its pseudo-being brought to what is real is flimsy and transparent in the light. It holds no terror now, for what was made enormous, vengeful, pitiless with hate, demands obscurity for fear to be invested there. Now it is recognized as but a foolish, trivial mistake. Before we close our eyes in sleep tonight, we reaffirm the choice that we have made each hour in between, and now we give the last 5 minutes of our waking day to the decision with which we awoke. As every hour passed, we have declared our choice again in a brief, quiet time devoted to maintaining sanity. And finally, we close the day with this, acknowledging we chose but what we want. Heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now and will not change my mind because it is the only thing I want. I like that part in the lesson where he says you cannot make the choice until you understand what it is you choose between, because you don't understand, or I don't understand. Let's keep it singular because that's the demonstration I'm attempting to portray anyway. Until you understand that the world is a dream, an illusion in which you've imprisoned yourself, imprisoned your own mind, you cannot make a decision to awaken from the dream. Okay, and right now, if you're watching this from the far distant future, right now we're in the year 2021, and there's a big consternation or a big consideration around the world that a woke person is someone who is awake, but that's not correct. So, and I just want to clarify that because it's important, because you can't stop at that. The idea of being woke is being awake to the fact that as a populace, we're under the control of some kind of hierarchy of Illuminati or whatever, and being controlled and all these sorts of things. Even that within the dream, right? There is no world. You have to keep it there. So all of the reflections of my mind who keep writing to me saying, "Oh, it's good to be woke," it's like, well, that's not what I'm talking about. That might be what you're talking about, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about awakening from the dream in its entirety, from having the experience of going beyond, a transcendental experience of going beyond, or watching the world disappear, to see that there actually is no world, and that no matter what you think is going on within the world, it's just an illusion. It's not really happening. It's a dream. I'm not really here talking to you. Let that in. You're not really taking that breath now. All right, well, tomorrow I will accept atonement for myself. That's the lesson, not that I'm going to do it tomorrow. I can only ever accept atonement for myself here and now. Peace.